they're not here for the truth. They're not even to consider it, whatever it may be.
And dude, what you said right there, man, and that's what it's about. It's like, they're not here for the truth. It's not that I'm sitting here, Joel's sitting here and saying, yo, we got it. We have all the answers and that's it. But we're here for it. We're willing to grapple with these great ideas. We're really willing to grapple with controversy. We're willing to challenge established belief systems. And unfortunately, many people, they don't have the capacity or the desire or the time, as some people will say, to grapple with these ideas or to challenge themselves.
You need to build a bridge for them to get over that. It's not, you can't hit people with too much at once. And some of the stuff that, was coming out during the scamdemic, it was a lot for people to try and wrap their minds around, a whole different kind of world. Welcome to Faust, everybody. The season of Georgia, chapter 2. I am thrilled to be sitting here with Yerasimos and Joel from the Here for the Truth podcast. Let me tell you what these guys have been up to. All right. Here for the Truth is dedicated to empowering truth seekers through the sharing, synthesizing, and embodiment of knowledge. Their goal is to provide people with tools, resources, and inspiration to be the best and most authentic version of themselves according to their highest values. This mission statement is powerful. I want to finish reading it because it's so great. The result will be that they'll have a foundation and the confidence to rely on their own reason and discernment to navigate their lives on their terms. I love that, guys. Their platform is dedicated to exalting the very best of the human spirit. Thank you guys for beaming in and coming on my podcast, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, man, it's great to be here, dude. We had you on our show last year and we had a great conversation and a whole bunch of different topics. So it's nice to be here.
Absolutely. Right, that episode with you is a bit of a cult classic, actually. There's certain people that come up to me and just love that episode.
Really?
They love the Faust episode. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I had no idea. I figured that one went right under the radar.
Yeah, we touched on a lot of different things, man, which was really cool.
Yeah. No, we definitely did.
And very foundational stuff too, that I think is important, especially people that are kind of waking up or seeing things in a new light. It was important, I think.
I thought it was a great talk and gave me a chance to get to know you guys a little bit. And since then I've been checking out your work every chance I get. And man, I'm so glad you guys found each other because first of all, that synchronicity in and of itself. Let's just begin right there. How did you two? Because that'll give people a little more knowledge about your backgrounds and how you two came together. Why don't you guys tell everyone that story? It's such a cool synchronicity.
Yeah, man, it was a mystical evening on the 13th of January, 2021. It was the first time in 52 years that Saturn was square Jupiter. And the three northern stars of Orion's belt were perfectly aligned with the pyramids of Giza.
No shit.
Is that the
figured
version?
It was something like that.
Hilarious.
Oh, bro. In a nutshell, the word is unslaved. Unslaved is the podcast hosted by the great Michael Tsarion and David Whitehead. We're both huge fans of their work. And one day I was listening to a podcast on somatic intelligence, and the two guests were Yerasimos Stilianessis and his wife, Sophie Fletcher. And this was knowledge and information which really hit me in an incredibly profound way. And I went out of my way to search for Yerasimos on Instagram. I reached out to him and I thanked him for that conversation. And I shared with him some of my own work and some of my own songs from my history as an artist. And we just connected. We hit it off. We were talking for a couple months just on Instagram. Then we're like, let's meet over Zoom. We met over Zoom. And then the second time we met over Zoom, we just decided to record episode 1. We realized we were on the same page about a lot of things. We both wanted to start a podcast. We both wanted to, I guess, share the path that we've been walking. And it's been every day since, man.
I didn't realize that it was Yerasimos's wife on the as a guest with him. I didn't. So you guys are filling in the blanks for me too. But what was that podcast about? What about it did you think?
Yeah, well, it was all about awakening somatic intelligence, and so often many people have these ideas of what the shadow is and how to deal with the shadow and how to deal with the unconscious. But what's usually forgotten is the major piece of the body, and how the body is the vessel of the unconscious, and it stores all that trauma. And all those projections can be seen in inflections and in the way we move and in our armoring and in our character. And so really bringing the body back into the picture of this journey of awakening, which is really a huge missing piece. It's coming more so to the forefront now, but I think those conversations are so important, and it was that which really blew me away. Yeah.
It's funny because I know David Whitehead, but I know him from his podcast, which I think is a little different.
Truth Warrior.
Yeah, Truth Warrior. And I had him he was an early guest on my podcast going way back in the middle of the pandemic, which was crazy because there was still a lot of censorship going on. But
let's even go back even further. I mean, 10, 12 years ago, man, you and I were in an acting class.
I know. Oh my God.
And we didn't even really know each other. We weren't like homies. Like, anybody said hi to each other a few times, connected on Facebook. And then like 2 years ago, I saw you posting some stuff that would be considered controversial.
Yeah, I was taking some heat probably
against the status quo. And I was like, oh shit, Faust is
I'll never forget
talking about some real shit. And then I reached out and we reconnected.
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm so glad you reached out because I didn't have there wasn't a single friend, because I was obviously at the time off the bat, I was speaking to a lot of people who were my peers, actors and people in that world, which is, it can be a very compartmentalized point of view that people in the industry have. I'm not saying all of them, but so when you reached out,
a large percentage.
Yeah, a large percentage. I mean, let's be real. No point in mincing words here. But it meant a lot to me that you reached out and that, at least somebody seemed, to understand what I was saying and, wasn't unfriending me or, whatever, all that bullshit that people do because they can't, they're not here for the truth. They're not even to consider it, whatever it may be.
And dude, what you said right there, man, and that's what it's about. It's like, they're not here for the truth. It's not that I'm sitting here, Joel's sitting here and saying, we got it. We have all the answers and that's it. But we're here for it. We're willing to grapple with these great ideas. We're really willing to grapple with controversy. We're willing to challenge established belief systems. And unfortunately, many people, they don't have the capacity or the desire or the time, as some people will say, to grapple with these ideas or to challenge themselves.
You need to build a bridge for them to get over that. It's not, you can't hit people with too much at once. And some of the stuff that, was coming out during the scamdemic, it was a lot for people to try and wrap their minds around, a whole different kind of world. But yeah, man. So that was cool. That's crazy, man. It was a Larry Moss workshop, right?
Yeah, with Larry Moss, man.
Yeah. And Larry Moss was one of the key catalysts in my consciousness path, because I was all fucked up and I had I really was kind of completely ignorant as to why, but he was like, you got to find out. And I was like, God damn it, I do got to find out. So then I started down. But anyway, I think I told you guys a lot about that journey when I was guest on your show. But so dude, Joel, I was listening to your music, man, like talented brother.
Music's something which will always be with me for sure. It's taken a back seat at the moment. I feel like I'm just taking a little detour. I played in that field and in that industry for a long time. I achieved varying degrees of success, but I don't think it's the ultimate path for me at the moment. So it's not going anywhere. I'm still writing songs in my own time, and when the inspiration comes, I let it pour out. But yeah, bro, I released a track last year, which became a bit of an anthem at the Freedom Rallies here in Australia. And I still perform when I get the opportunity. Nice. I love that shit.
Awesome, bro. Dude, I was at this conference about 2 months ago, and this guy is named Dr. JJ Hurtak. He's a physicist. He worked with the remote viewing program with Russell Targ and those guys, but this guy has been around the world, and he's got a lot of books that you probably would find very fascinating, just on how music ties into the very essence of life and geometry and everything on this planet. And he writes so well about it. He had this presentation that completely blew me away. And actually, a lot of the doctors, scientists, these huge brained people who have come into a degree of enlightenment creating these unbelievable technologies. Meanwhile, they're like, meditating and swimming with the whales in Hawaii and communicating with the whales. And I'm like, you did what? I'm like, so before or after you invented this laser or stem cell therapy? I was like, what? It's crazy. But
yeah,
he calls it singing the song of the stem cells. That's what he likes to call this invention that he made that is really about to take the world by surprise. God willing, it gets that far, with the powers that be. But Joel, you have grounded alchemy, right? Which is that's kind of the basis of what you studied, right? Is that accurate?
Yeah, well, initially my path before really I connected with Yerasimos and we decided to do something more collaboratively. I'm a member of Michael Tsarion's Taroscopic Mystery School, and that's really where I learned the power of tarot and taroscopic astrology as well. And initially I generated a little coaching platform helping people to discover more of who they are using these particular divination systems. Now there's many divination systems. And really what we do now together is just try to integrate as much as possible these different systems to really highlight to an individual that they were born with a unique purpose, with a unique reason, with unique gifts. Nothing about them's accidental. No part of their passions, their feelings are foreign to them. Because, also the ultimate philosophical question is, who am I? Right?
Mhm.
Well, some of these systems are really able to highlight who you are. And very often when people get quote unquote divination readings, what happens is they get highlighted to them things that they've already discovered about themselves. And therefore they get confirmation in that process just to be who they were born to be, like, oh, wow, I am that way for a reason based on my birth information. Why would I do anything other than deny that part of myself? It's literally part of the fabric of who I am. So to me, that's the power of divination. When people hear divination, they think it's like very woo-woo out there, super mystical, super spiritual. To me, it's the most grounding knowledge available to us. It's literally the embodiment of you. It's being more connected to yourself, more connected to this reality, more connected to your gifts, your purpose, even to reason and rationality. And so that's kind of my take on divination and what I try to do with grounded alchemy, hence the name grounded as the first word there.
Yerasimos, I was listening to your podcast about human design. When I think of human design, I think of that book that Greg Braden wrote, which I think has a similar title. And I admittedly I get confused, but I know that it's also a divination but can you give everyone like a bit of a description of what human design is about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, again, it's another system that helps you accept yourself, love yourself, know yourself on a deeper level, and get out of the compare and contrast game. So human design integrates four, let's say, ancient sciences, Western astrology, the Kabbalah tree of life, a 9-centered Hindu chakra system, and the Chinese I Ching, along with an understanding of like two modern sciences. And again, it utilizes your birth information, time, date, and place. And when you put your birth information on a certain software, like your body graph chart comes up, and there's all this different information on there that supports you in really understanding your specific energy type. There's 5 types in human design. It's how you interact with your environment, with yourself. There's your profile that has to do with your, personality trait, or let's call it the costume that you wear in life. There's one of the most important things that I love about human design is the authority, which is your decision-making process. So, each person's going to have one of several decision-making processes that's ideal for them. And so again, it's very different than other systems out there. Because they're just the things it focuses on is different, like especially like strategy and authority. Each type has its own strategy for life, and like I said before, individual decision-making process. So it's changed my life. I mean, all these systems that I've come across, like I've gotten little nuggets of information and wisdom that have helped me stake my flag in the ground more, and has been something like, oh yeah, that's totally fucking true, or oh man, that makes sense. Wow, that's a challenge of mine. So I'm just able to love myself and accept myself more, and just kind of give 2 middle fingers up to, like, you know, like how society,
in the healthiest of ways.
Yeah, in the healthiest way. It's just like I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna stand in my truth. I'm gonna honor myself, love myself, and do what I have to do. And if people don't like that, then that's fine. You can go on your merry way and live your life.
It's all part of the journey, and each step, even the one that you're like, oh, I fucking wish I didn't do that, you know. Yeah, but you had to do it. You know what I mean? There's the conscious I, you know, and who we walk around, or at least who we think we walk around as. That's our personality. And then there's everything that makes that up, which is subconscious, you know, meaning you don't know about it. I mean, until you do. You know, I see people that have been in therapy 7 years and they're still talking about the same shit. I'm like, you should fucking ask for a refund for the last 5 years. Like, what are you doing? You're still talking about the same. I mean, I know that people need time to grieve and process. I did. But at the same time, if you're just affirming the bad and rehashing the bad and talking about the bad, what do? You're not creating anything.
Yeah.
Besides, you know, you're setting yourself up for more of that.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, ultimately the proof is in the pudding. What is your life like? You know, what are your relationships like? So if you're spending seven years, you know, rehashing the same things over and over again, but you're getting triggered in the same ways, you're attracting the same individuals in your life, you're not fulfilled and you're not satisfied with what you're doing, then, you know, the individual needs to take a honest, hard look inside and go like, well, maybe I need to do something different. But that's up to the individual.
Each time.
It's an individual journey.
It's hard to do it. You know, it made me think about, you guys are offering, it's called Rise Above the Herd, and it's an 8-week. It may be full already. This go around may be full, but it's, you guys are taking people in and helping them find authenticity and integrity in their lives. And then, look, man, if you're listening to this and you've never experienced the kind of magic that happens to you when you align with your truth and your integrity, then you are missing out, because I'm telling you, some of it is straight up magic. I mean, things are going to fall out of the sky for you when you align in that way. So check these guys out. Check out Rise Above the Herd. You know, this program that they're offering, it looks incredible. Tell me about some of the peeps you guys have had in the program.
Man, it's really just people that are realizing that there's something more. There's something missing. You know, they realize deep within them that they have potential, which isn't being realized by walking the path that they're currently walking. And ultimately, they come to us to, in my opinion, do what is the deepest shadow work, really excavating what is everything that's inauthentic within us, that's holding us back from really creating the magic that you speak about. You know, a hermetic principle that I rely on often is as above, so below, as within, so without. So the more we can really shine a light and highlight all these aspects of ourselves, really understand who we are as an individual self, develop authentic self-esteem, you know, ultimately that inner work, when properly aligned with true vision and action, is going to change your life. And the thing that's going to change your life is not anything external. It's the recognition that you are the person that's competent, capable, and willing of making it happen. And as you take each step, you build that discernment, you build that muscle, you realize how capable you are, you develop authentic self-esteem. And then from there, you continue to take bigger steps. You begin to trust your own mind again, trust your own thinking to deal with the basic challenges of life. And then not only deal with the challenges of life, but be able to thrive, because you realize that ultimately your willingness to think appropriately is directly correlated to your willingness to live. You know, we can't live unless we trust our minds. So yeah, man, they are incredibly brave-hearted individuals. There's no doubt about that. They do tell us it's better than therapy. One guy told us it's better. One guy told us it's better than ayahuasca.
No shit, that's saying something. Well, I mean, for some people, yeah.
Dude, like at the end of the day, we can't. No one's coming to save you. You know, we can't keep externalizing our life, our responsibility, our willingness to be conscious and live in integrity onto anyone else. We have to walk that path ourselves, and our job is really just to hold up, you know, the clearest reflection possible to these individuals, really imbue them with the knowledge from the masters who've done the homework with us. So we synthesize and we distill the most potent information that's helped us on our journeys. And we try to communicate that and help them integrate that in their lives in a way that, you know, they just have those clarity bombs every single time they have a conversation with us. Every single time they hear a module, it's like, you know, there's a new window opening, and they get that recognition that it doesn't matter what the world does. It doesn't matter what Babylon does. It doesn't matter how corrupt or inauthentic or how lost the herd is. It's in my hands. I'm the rational being. I'm the reasonable being. I'm the capable being. I've recognized all these aspects within myself, and I can walk my own path free of the burdens of guilt and shame, which everyone else is fucking drowning in.
Yeah, man.
Boom.
Boom. Amen. I mean, maybe that's not the appropriate response to that statement, but
A woman.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that.
Yeah. So well said, dude. So well said. There's so much to be said about that, you know, guilt and shame. I had a little party a couple of days ago. My son, well, we were still in New York, and it was like one of his last days of school. And on the way to school, this is my 11. Well, he just turned 11. He was 10 at the time, but this is him in a nutshell. He's like, "Poppy, what's hell?" And I'm like, "It's a phony place that a bunch of religious people made up to scare people into going to church and living in a scared way." I was like, hell is a word
to siphon your energy so you can live a life of mediocrity and never rise above the fucking herd. Yeah.
It sounds crazy. I'm like, it's not real. He's like, it doesn't sound real. He was like, how could there be a hell? I was like, there is. Man, when I was 10 years old, I thought I was going to hell. Okay. I was like, I touched myself by accident last night. I'm doomed. I'm so doomed. I know that's right up there, you know.
I mean, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, man. So
wow.
that programming was so heavy for me. So heavy. Yeah.
Yeah. I was raised Catholic. Thank God I grew out of it. But you know, it's nothing like teaching a kid that the moment he does something that is, you know, a natural inclination, that he's going to roast in hell, you know, if he, unless he can find a way to reconcile and confess. I mean, that is a terrible, terrible thing to teach a kid. I had no idea why I was praying for my soul at like 10 years old, but I knew I was. People were like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "I fucked up." It's terrible. But
you know what's more terrible, man? The fact that people feel guilty simply for the fact that they're alive, simply for the fact that they exist.
That's what we're talking.
And they can't even prove it to themselves. It's just, I'm a born sinner, and I want to spend the next 80 years atoning for something which I don't even know that I've done.
Literally, that's why you go to church, at least the churches I went to, and everyone looks so unhappy. Right? I mean, Dr. Joe tells this funny story about his Italian grandmother. He said he used to sneak up to her room and watch her pray and cry. And he was like, "What is she doing?" She'd be like, you know, I'm like, and I know now, like, that's not praying. I don't know what that is, but that's not exactly what prayer was meant to be. There's no power in it. You know what I'm saying? There can be power in prayer, but not the way I think most Westerners are taught to do it. Anyway, Yerasimos, what do you think about all this?
What do I think about everything that we're talking about?
Yeah,
well, listen, I was raised Greek Orthodox. You know,
I was going to say, there's no way you got away.
I was raised in the Greek Church. You know, it's a little different than the Catholic Church and Jehovah's Witness. I mean, I feel like a lot of the services that I took part in, like, it's all ancient Greek, so it wasn't like you're gonna go to hell if you do these things. But still, there's still an element of collectivism involved, in the sense of, you know, sacrificing yourself for some greater purpose. You know, I mean, I had a pretty good experience growing up in my youth group, but my mom brought me, like, I had woke me up every Sunday to go to church, man. I had like perfect attendance Sunday school from age like 6 to like 17. You know, I was an altar boy, I did all that stuff, but there were positive elements too. You know, there was a lot of different organizations within the church that I was a part of, and different competitions, different things that allowed me to, you know, challenge myself, you know. But ultimately I realized, like, you know, some sort of organized religion just isn't for me. And I'm grateful for some of the experiences that I had, but it's just not something that I put time or energy into.
Yeah.
Currently.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people make it work. I had this incredible guy on. He's but he understands it. You know what I mean? He doesn't buy into any of the, he loves kneeling 5 times a day. It gives him a chance to show his gratitude and to feel it. He's just taken the Islamic religion and made it really spiritual, with this greater understanding of the teachings. It was really cool talking to him, because I was like, wow, this is what religion could be without the dogma, without the guilt, without the extremism. It was really cool to talk to him, and he's a psychiatrist. But I was like, see, it can work, but you kind of have to take the religion out of it almost.
Listen, I think it's a personal process. I'm not going to sit here and say what another person can do, but at the end of the day, again, do you love yourself? Do you respect yourself? Are you living your purpose? Are you living in integrity? These are the things that matter most. Like, you can go to church all the time and put on the face like, I'm such a good person, and then what are you doing in the private? What are you doing when people aren't watching? What's going on inside your mind? So again, I think I don't have an issue with people having, like, connected to a religion or a spiritual practice, unless they're hypocrites and they're living one life and saying, oh, look at me, I'm a Christian, look at me, I'm a practicing Jew, look at me, I'm such a great person, when the reality of the matter is you're anything but that. You know what I mean? So it's, do you, man, like, do you? It's not, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Everybody can do themselves. That came out wrong, but everybody everybody can take part and participate in what they want. It's when that participation asks them to condemn other participations that I'm like, whoa, no one has a problem with you guys doing what you do. You know what I mean? Like, why do you have a problem with them? I do believe in live and let live. I feel like it's the only answer to some of the problems our society keeps banging their head against. So Rise Above the Herd is an 8-week program, right?
Yep.
8-week program. And you guys, so do you bring in any of your work from the divination stuff, or is this totally an amalgam that you guys created?
Yeah, it's an amalgamation of different things that have supported us throughout our journeys. I mean, as far as like divination, I'm not sure, maybe I would call it human design divination, but it is a divination system. That's the bonus element of our course. So, it's kind of just extra. People get their human design charts, they get their human design life theme, they get even some gene key information. But ultimately, we have a private Telegram community with just the members of the program and Joel and myself. And they have the opportunity to ask any questions that they want. They can ask any questions on their human design chart. I was introduced to human design like maybe 10, 11 years ago, but like seriously, like 8 years ago. And it's been a big part of my journey. And for a while I was doing one-on-one readings as well. So they get to experience that. And then other than that, it's just stuff that has inspired Joel and myself. Like Joel mentioned, like, we've learned from some of the great masters of the past, and we do our part to synthesize, I think, maybe the most important elements that are going to support a person to truly become an individual, honor themselves, and rise above the herd, because we're seeing all around us what people are doing. And we're seeing over the last however many decades how the indoctrination has been happening through culture, through the institutions, to get people to abandon themselves for some perceived higher good, that who decides, the people who have the most influence within the collective, the politicians, the priests, etc. Like, fuck that.
And why have they decided is the bigger question, because it's usually not for the reasons you've been told. I mean, I should say, I could almost say always. It's always not for the reason. But I was watching an interview with Aaron Russo, the late Aaron Russo, and man, he, there's a dude who he was so lovable. I don't know, Joel, did you ever, who Aaron Russo is? He was a filmmaker, lived in California.
Places, one of my favorite movies of all time, man.
Oh,
he was cool. He was a producer on that, but he got real into like truth seeking. And
yeah,
did an
he started
awesome
making
documentary.
documentaries. And I mean, his whole thing was, look, I'm only on this planet in this, form once. Like I'm going to try to help people. He was just really a lovable guy, right? And so the Rockefellers really took a liking to him, and they've tried really hard to get him to kind of. They were like, "We'll give you all the money in the world. You can make any movie you want." He was like, "Yeah, but I'm not going to think like you. I don't want to think like you." And they were like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? You know what I mean? You got to look out for your own. You really care about these people?" And he's like, "Yes, I really fucking care about these people." I can only imagine the conversations that he had and all the ways they tried to get him to sell out and become one of them. They really liked him. I mean, he's a really likable guy. I watch all these interviews with him, but he talks about how this country, America, was set up to be a republic, and this whole notion of democracy that they've taken and they've really spoon-fed everyone, and they've turned it into this word which is, sacrosanct, and made people believe that we are nothing if we're not a democracy. But the problem with the democracy is it says that the individual should be obliterated if and when the majority need him to. And that's not what this country was set up to do. This country was actually set up as a republic so that the individual could have a choice whether or not to join the other 99% of the people, not be fucking left behind because he didn't. And he makes a great point. And he's like, the Rockefellers would talk about this all the time. He was like, you have to condition people to believe they must be part of the herd, or they're not good people. And that's the problem with, the democracy and the conditioning that has happened in our society. Part of the problem, anyway.
That's very well said, man. And ultimately, it can be summed up in one word, which is collectivism. The priorities and interests of the crowd and the group take precedent over that of the individual. And at the end of the day, it is the leading cause of death, destruction, and tyranny in our planet in the forms of communism, socialism, fascism, Christianity, Islam, whatever it might be. But, to me, those religious organizations, they're just spiritual branches of collectivism. At the end of the day, it's still about sacrificing yourself for the greater good. And yeah, you summed it up very well. It is the problem.
Agreed. So you guys want to go a little far out with me?
Far out with Faust, man. I mean, that's the whole point of this.
Let's do it.
Let's see if we can hang. I don't know. We'll see if we can hang with you, man.
But you don't need to buckle in because where we're going, gravity's not a problem. Right. But so we can just whoever wants to start, right? I'm going to throw this out here. What I want to know is what was the most intense kind of like, holy shit, did that just happen? No one's ever going to fucking believe me, moment that happened to you that maybe it was supernatural, maybe it was mystical, maybe it was just, like the most insane quote coincidence, if you believe in those things, that, that you could ever imagine. But what was that moment for you?
Okay, you go.
Oh, well, the one that stands out, if we're talking like supernatural, unexplainable, is in 2018. It was Christmas Eve, 2 months after my first daughter was born. She was moved. I can't explain it. She was in our bed between us, perfectly wrapped in her wrap, perfectly tight. She couldn't have gone anywhere. And I woke up to my wife screaming, saying, "Where's Valley? Where is she?" She didn't fall. I couldn't hear her screaming. She was literally somehow picked up, moved, and placed on the floor in our bedroom. All the blankets were still perfectly tight, perfectly wrapped. She was laying down, sleeping. And we're talking about a 2-month-old. She's not freaking going anywhere. I'm talking about meters. She was moved in meters. And yeah, that's something which I still can't figure out.
So fascinating. So crazy. And shit like that happens and you're like, why? What could it mean? You know what I mean? You could boggle your mind trying to figure out why for the rest of your life. And you I mean, you're going to have to create a reason, because who knows why. Did you ever come up with something? Like, what was your biggest guess?
Dude, the only possible thing that could have happened is one of us somehow sleepwalked, picked her up,
Yeah.
moved her onto the floor. But none of us are sleep. Me and my wife are not sleepwalkers. We never sleepwalked in our lives, like ever. You know, my brother's a sleepwalker. I get those stories from my parents, but I don't wake up and sleepwalk, and neither does she. So
what are the odds though? What are the odds that one of you did that night with your daughter and picked her up in a way that was so gentle and placed her, you know what I mean? Like, what are the odds that's
so when I feel into it, it's not the answer. So it's still a work in progress, that one.
awesome.
I was a sleepwalker like crazy as a kid, so I have out there stories of things that happened to me as a sleepwalker that were just insane, and I didn't remember any of it.
Wow.
I was told the stuff by my mom the next day. You know, like one time she caught me just like dangling outside the window from my bedroom. It was 2 stories up, like I was about to jump out, and then she just got me. And then another time, like she found me just like in the front lawn, just sleeping, like in the front of the house, just like out there, you know. Another time, it was during, this is funny. I was talking about religion before. You know, growing up Greek Orthodox, there's something called Holy Week, and it's like the week before Easter, and that's like you go to church like every single night. And so as an altar boy, I was like involved with different things, and we fasted. We didn't eat any meat, you know, or meat or vegetables. I know it's not vegetables, meat during that time. And so I'd eat a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So there was this time my mom tells me, I just like, again, this is all during sleepwalking. I just like I went into their room while they were sleeping, and I just hovered over my mom, and she opened her eyes, and I went, make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. and so she just like guided me back to sleep, because you're not supposed to like try to wake, you just kind of like, okay, and we just guide you back to sleep, you know. And then I'm just gonna tell a few other stories because they're just funny. And then another time I had this gumball machine, and I was just walking up and down the hallway in my house, and I was petting it, saying, "Oh, puppy, puppy." And my mom like found me, like this is like 4 in the morning or something. So she just tell me all these different things, you know, like all this crazy. But then I just stopped. I just stopped, you know.
Oh wow.
Like, yeah. Like after college, it just, maybe during college, it stopped.
Wow.
And who knows? I haven't like gotten into the reasons why that is.
Well, you know, it could just be, look, they say that, you know, the whole brain chemistry, everything shifts every, you know, it's cyclical. I think they say it's like every 7 years, 10 years at the most, when you see like there's usually a pretty big shift. It could have just been, you know, you came into more of an equilibrium, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It was really fascinating, but I used to just laugh the next day when she would tell me. I was like, no, what are you talking about? No, I didn't. And she'd just be saying these things to me in a Greek accent. No, you walk up the hallway with the thing, and you pet it and say, "Puppy, puppy." You know, I was just like, "Okay, mom."
You're like, "Sure, I did." She doesn't know. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Great,
So,
man.
anyways,
those stories are
so.
priceless.
And to answer your initial question, I can't think of anything right now, like something that just happened, like that was like wild and crazy, where I was like, you know, kind of something like what Joel said. I can't. Nothing's coming to me.
Did you ever see UFO?
I've never seen the UFO.
You could see one, you know, if you wanted to.
I'd like to. I just maybe have to put some attention on it, you know. And like spend less
totally. I
time.
mean, you know, there's so like this. I happen to be drinking out of this coffee mug. I got this at a Dr. Greer stargazing retreat. And he you know, he was a meditation teacher before he became a physician, an MD, for all those years, but he's also a disclosure guy, you know, and he's been working to try to uncover the fucking 80 years of lies the government has been sitting on about UFOs, about ETs, about our interaction with them, about all the technology we have, you know. I mean, real quote conspiracy theory shit, except now we have the Space Force, and, you know, every once in a while the Pentagon's like, "Oh, did you see that UFO? It was harassing our ship. We're going to need $4 billion to defend ourselves." Yeah, right. Okay, get ready for the next false flag, everyone. You know, the
government lies to us.
Is
that really?
This just in?
Are we in the wrong podcast, Yerasimos?
Yeah, I think
so. Whenever the Pentagon is confirming what they have, you know, they're giving the tapes to people like, what's his name from Blink-182 and Jeremy Corbyn, and they're saying, leak this to the press, and then we'll confirm it's real. Of course, they're the ones that gave it to him. But Dr. Greer has all these, insiders, and he's working to try to get them to understand that this is all, dog and pony show, that we've had the truth. When they say we don't know what they are, it's all lies, propaganda. They're trying to create this invisible threat. They need the next invisible threat. We'll go through. We had the terrorists. We have the little invisible letters, the words that start with a V, not vagina. And pretty soon we'll have this. I'm sure it's on the horizon. But Dr. Greer teaches this awesome meditation. He calls it a CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, and it's it's basically a coherence meditation. You quiet the mind, and once you're very quiet, you can start to send a very coherent signal out that kind of starts right here from your heart, from your most powerful part of you. And then you just start to reach out with your consciousness, right? And a lot of times you can connect with ETs and with craft, or ETs in a craft, because their technology is very seamlessly linked, to their consciousness. And, they're not traveling in 3-dimensional time and space, with fucking jet fuel or any of that nonsense. So you can connect with them. You can ask them, if it's safe, if they could make a cameo for you, if they could say hello, if it's safe for them. And many times, you don't need to be like well versed at this. It helps if you have, more than one person, but it's not necessary. You could do it yourself on any clear night. And the meditation.
Have you had an experience with that meditation that's been successful?
Yeah. So dude, I used to do them in New York City, which I didn't realize was such a, you got to do it in a place where it's there isn't like radar and constant, monitoring. Light pollution is a big thing. But I was able to connect with a few ships in New York when I was in New York City trying to do it, but it was all conscious. It was not in a physical 3D.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. But when I went to this retreat, and there was 600 people doing this meditation, we saw an array of phenomena. We saw dozens of shit. Dr. Greer is a fucking mecca. He's so connected. But we saw all kinds of ships, and I saw a ship that materialized in and out of physical space, like 50 yards from where we were sitting. And I swear I was the only one. Like I was sitting next to this woman and my brother, and she's like, look over there. And I was like, literally everyone is looking ahead. And she's like, don't take your eyes off over there. And I'm like, okay. But we were volunteering, and we were sitting in front. I was like, is this a good example? I was like, okay, fine. And so I turned this way, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna watch this way, and sure enough, man, this flash of blue happened. And I was like, because it was so close, and you could start to see the ship, and then everyone saw it and stood up, and I couldn't see anything after that. But I got like 5 seconds of a video.
When we first moved to Topanga Canyon, I don't know if you've been to Topanga at all, but it's right outside of Los Angeles, and we're definitely in nature, and the skies are super clear at night. And a friend, when we moved in, gave me a book, and it was Topanga and UFOs or something, but I haven't read it. So after this conversation, I'm kind of inspired to read it, and then to go out at night and try out this meditation and see if I get any visitors. And Joel, if I don't show up to work one day,
take me to, you know where he went. You should, dude. You're in a great area. I've been through Topanga. It's beautiful, and it's a perfect place to do, CE5.
I had no idea there was a book. Like there's probably people who've had experiences like you're explaining, and I'm kind of, I haven't gone down the UFO or alien rabbit holes too much, and but I'm very curious to see what's out there.
Don't get me started on the conspiracies.
Far out,
It's-
bro.
I mean,
How do you think it gets introduced? Like, what do you think? What
oh,
are the steps?
well, what you mean, like free energy?
Yeah, or this
UFO.
Oh, the
Yeah.
false. So, well, the only way that free technology is gonna become part of the public, is if it's created in a way and made public in such a way that it can't be destroyed, just buried or destroyed. Because every time someone has created, a closed loop free energy device and patented it, it's been, they've been fucking offed, they literally, they've been killed, they've, murder suicided themselves, or just been poisoned or shot with the fucking CIA's heart attack gun. I don't know, like any number of ways they could do it. And the technology has been buried. It's either bought and buried or just gone missing. The elements needed to make it. Like, I just did a short on Stan Meyer. He invented an engine that ran on water. It actually separated the hydrogen from the oxygen, and the waste product was oxygen. And this dude said, and he showed how he got a lot of press. If you Google Stan Meyer, you'll see he made the news. He was all over the papers. The first news report speaks volumes. It says, a local man has come up with this, water fuel technology, and he says the Pentagon is interested in it. And so the Pentagon was already reaching out to this guy. And this was before they could censor news in real time. You know what I mean? This was a local news broadcast. And Stan Meyer's talking about how, the Pentagon was the first people who called me when they heard about it. Now, isn't that amazing? Why would the Pentagon be so interested in this, in invention, this water fuel? So and we've had these inventions come and go, and that's because as long as the fucking oil tycoons run the world and every other industry, they're going to come and go. But you make something, you put it on fucking YouTube fast enough for people to be like, I got it. I can recreate that. Then you can't stop it. Then it's too late. Then it's viral. You know what I mean? We need free energy to go viral. That's the only way it's going to have an impact and be, recreatable. That will be the beginning of the downfall of the power structure, I think. And as far as the UFOs go, God willing, enough people start to make contact that they can't be fooled by the propaganda. Because I know you guys are smart enough not to watch the news, but they're putting out a lot of propaganda, a lot of scare propaganda for people who do, about this threat, this threat to our, they say, we don't know what it is, but we know they've been harassing our naval ships, and we know they've been around our nuclear plants. And of course, none of that is true. The ships harassing the naval vessels are the ones we created, and now we can do with whatever we want. God, hopefully they don't get too carried away.
They just need to send Maverick after them.
That's what I'm fucking saying, man.
That's all they got to do.
Maverick can pull 9 Gs.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he would take out all the alien ships.
Yeah.
He's Maverick.
If they're going to lie to everyone and tell everyone that ETs are going to attack us, why can't the ETs say bullshit?
That's pretty far out, man.
You know what I mean? Why not just fucking say, why not just call bullshit? I don't know. Anyway. You guys were like, I have no idea what to say to any of that.
No, man. I mean, I enjoyed the conversation. I mean, there's so much we don't know, there's so much speculation about so many things, and so I like going down the rabbit holes, and at the same time, it's like, well, what can I control, and what can I do to better my life, better myself, and do the things that I want to do, So, I like dancing in these waters, and at the same time, I'm just like, yo, let's get practical.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah. I try to stay practical. Believe it or not, I swear to God, I do try to stay practical. I am going to go back and do this 3-day weekend again, just because it's a lot of fun, to connect in that way. Yeah.
I totally feel what you're saying. I mean, just from this conversation alone, I feel like I might spend a little more time outside at night.
You should, man. It'd be
You
cool.
know, because there are stars, you know, but I get caught up being inside often.
Yeah.
I saw a UFO here where I live not long ago. I'm on the south coast of New South Wales, a little town near Wollongong. And yeah, there was
Quick, right?
I'll send you the video, man. I don't know.
Oh, nice, nice.
I've got no other explanation. Like 100%, it falls under the definition of UFO for sure. Couldn't have been a drone. Wasn't a plane. It had no sound whatsoever. Was doing all these crazy directions.
Oh wow!
For 10 minutes, man, it was pretty local. So you tell me what you think. I'll send it to you after this.
It sounds like it was a real craft. Doesn't sound like the way it was behaving. It doesn't sound like a government replica.
Faust, just so you know, if there were ever elections for Earth Ambassador, I'm totally voting for you.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. I like to think of myself as an ambassador of sorts.
You know, I love it.
It's awesome, man. What is your most profound, life-changing book, Yerasimos?
And ask Joel first. I mean, I know what he's going to say, but ask Joel.
All right, Joel, go ahead.
Atlas Shrugged.
There you go.
No shit.
Oh, there's no doubt, man. Ayn Rand cut through the shit like nobody else. She basically theorized everything that we're experiencing now.
Yeah.
She taught the most valuable and profound lesson of the 21st century: how to value your own life, how to value your own existence as a thinking, rational being. You know, once upon a time, I saw a comment on YouTube. It was, "My life is in two phases: before and after reading Atlas Shrugged."
That's awesome.
I agree.
Very cool. Nice. All right, you're up. Was that did he say what you thought he was going to say?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Just check.
I'm trying to think, man. There's so many books I've read over the years that are so many random genres. So the most transformational, it was probably one of the first books I read as a teenager, and it was Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse.
Okay.
And you know, that was just the first. It was just a really powerful story of just knowing that like you can live and experience life beyond the conditioning of your family or your society, etc. And so it's like, here's the story of, you know, the Buddha, you know, living in a palace and having all these blessings. And he was just like, yo, I'm out. I'm going on a walkabout. I'm going to go experience life and see what it is and have all these adventures and experiences. And so I think that really impacted me, especially, you know, I grew up first generation Greek American, and most of the time, you know, first generation children, they tend to like stay close to the home. You know, the parents will like condition them, hey, you got to take over the family business, or, you know, you got to live close to home, or, hey, I'm going to bribe you to go to a local college. You can't go away to school, whatever the case.
You got to take the bakery over. Yeah.
These are all real stories, you know, of kids I grew up with, you know. And I always knew there was more out there. There's more I wanted to experience. I've always been very curious. So that book had a huge impact on me. And then another book that probably a lot of people will say had a huge impact on them, because I've read it 4 times at different times in my life, was The Alchemist. I just love the simplicity of the story, you know, about like, you know, following your heart and going after your dreams and paying attention to those signals that nature, God, the universe presents itself, you know, those synchronicities, those omens. And I think that's been really powerful for me as well, of just supporting my intuition to go, oh, that's interesting. Like, let me go in that direction. Let me turn right here. Let me turn left there. Let me pick up this book. Let me, you know, answer this call. Let me go on this trip. There's just been something that has supported following that inner compass within myself that has guided me to where I am right now in my life, and where I'm in a place where I'm very satisfied and grateful. And I mean, I fucking love my life. I mean, there's moments that are like that annoying and suck, of course, but I'm human, you know. But in the grand scheme of things, so many seeds that I've planted, when I think back even years ago, it's like are happening in my life, you know, are here, you know, and a lot of times I don't even know how the fuck it happened. You know, it's just, I've just kind of just like, oh yeah, I'm going to go here. I know I'm going to go there, and I'm going to move. I'm going to do this thing. And then it's like, oh, this is my life. Cool. You know? So there's like there's obviously conscious action that plays a huge role, but but intuition has played a huge, like, I don't even know, like, why I moved to, I left New York City, you know, nine and a half years ago. Like, it's just like this like thought came into me, you know, or came from me, you know. And that's how so many big decisions that I've made in my life that a lot of people would think I was like insane for just doing. It was just something that came to me in the moment, and like, it just felt right. And then after sitting with it for a bit, it was like, this is the next step I have to take in my life. Whether that was like choosing to study abroad in Australia, whether that was taking all my savings and after college and backpacking Europe by myself for a few months, whether it was leaving a well-paying job and a somewhat of a path in 2008 and just backpacking around the globe with my savings, and you know, like, people thought I was nuts. And my old school Greek parents, I mean, shit, they thought it was nuts, you know.
I'm sure.
And actually, let me go back to the question you asked earlier, about some like transformative or like otherworldly experience, memories coming to me. You know, I took off in 2008 and to backpack around like the US and around the world. And actually in the beginning of 2009, I ended up going to this like shamanic healing center in outside of Iquitos, Peru. You know, I lived in a treehouse in the jungle, and I was like the only person there for like the first few days.
Oh,
and I
shit.
decided, because I had read a few books and I had some people who recommended me back then, what is this, 12 years ago, to experience ayahuasca. So I was like 2009, I ended up at this center, and I ended up doing 6 ceremonies over 9 days.
Wow.
And my second ceremony, I had this crazy experience where I was like in this like deep place. Obviously, for anyone who's experienced with psychedelics, and I have my own views on them in general, but at this time in my life, I was really open to this experience. And I remember like sitting there and having this like moment where I'm like been traveling around the world doing all this crazy shit, and my little old Greek parents, who like their children like is their whole world, you know, their life.
Mhm.
They have no fucking clue where I am.
You're in a fucking
Like, I had just 3 days earlier took like a 20-hour boat ride from Colombia on the Amazon with a bunch of fucking locals and me. This little white Greek dude, you know, I was like, hey, I want to go to Iquitos. Can you take me there? Sure. They have no fucking clue what I'm doing. And I'm like, I was like, what is it like? Like, I almost had the thought of like, what is it like to be a parent? I mean, I'm not a parent, both of you are. And in this ceremony, I had these like they felt like gold or silver strings that just like shot out. Whoa, shot out. That was wild.
That's
Shot
crazy.
out to my parents. Like, they had their little room in New Jersey, like their TV room where they chill and they just like watch TV and like Greek shows off like the satellite, you know, and it just shot out and like went into them. And I felt like I tapped into their consciousness and felt what it was like to have love for a child. And I fucking lost it. I was just like weeping for like, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And that changed my whole experience and my relationship to my parents. Like, I was able to have more compassion and understanding in terms of like, whoa, like, I'm here doing all this shit, traveling all around the world, and they're worried about me, you know, and they care about me. So like, I don't know, it was just a deep
That's beautiful.
experience
Yeah.
for myself.
It's
And again, I don't know what the fuck happened. I was in this fucking place.
I
Like,
mean, that's the best of, I
tripping
think.
out.
That's the best, I think, of some of these ceremonies, and you know, the kind of experiences that you get to have, and sometimes even replay. And you know, I just reminds me, I was in a plant ceremony a few months ago, and I saw myself playing with my son on the roof of my building the day before, and I saw how impatient I was. And I kept being shown how impatient I was and how much like my father I was being, and it was ripping my heart out. Like, there's, you know, I was just like, what happens to I must go unconscious, like that the part of me, you know, when it comes to, because I was working in technique with sports with him, God, there's a part of me that is very much like my father when I'm trying to do that. Like I lose the patience sometimes. And I just kept seeing myself over and over. And I was like, okay, I get it. I get it. I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to. It just gave me a tremendous chance to connect with myself and my son. And that love is so big and profound. That's a beautiful story though, man, you know, that you got to experience that. And fucking crazy. I had no idea that you did all that crazy shit, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, bro. It seems like forever ago, like my life now to what it is back then, you know, 13 years ago, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, man. It more and more.
But again, like you said before, everything feeds the next thing, you know. So I'm so grateful for all the experiences. I'm grateful for those moments like in fetal position, weeping and fucking crying and snot come out of my nose, you know, going through the breakups, you know, like I'm so grateful for all those experiences, you know, because I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't have those experiences. And so
It's beautiful, man.
I mean, finish the story. The last intuitive hit to email Michael Tsarion and be like, hey, look at my wife's work. And you end up on a podcast that some dude in Sydney, Australia watches.
On the other side of the planet.
Well, yeah, man, that's it, you know? And it's so funny because I had been thinking for years, like I always wanted to reach out to him just to thank him for the impact that he's had on my life, but I never did. And then that just felt like the right moment because, you know, his work, you know, really, he's so good at connecting the dots and bringing things together. And like for my wife to come over and be like, yo, check out these 2 books, you know, like these 3 paragraphs. And I was like, oh, this is so really, really cool. And then that just felt like the right moment. And again, like you said, like it's wild where we are now because of that. All these different things that happened, you know, and here we are. Like the 3, like if I could just think about, and this is what I learned from my buddy Gavin. We used to work together, and he's Japanese American, and there's this statement in Japanese called itadakimasu. A lot of people use it before they have a meal, and it's like gratitude, but gratitude on steroids. And he translates it as thank you for everything that it took to make this happen. And so here we are in this moment, the 3 of us, and I can hold space for fucking all those things that had to happen that brought us together in this moment, you know, for each one of us to say yes to work with Larry Moss, you and me at that time, you know, 12 years ago, whatever it was, you know, and then Joel and we're it's here crazy. in this moment right now, in this period of 2 hours where we're sharing this experience, and this experience will never happen again. You know, like it's like the sacredness of the moment, you know, like when you're with people, when you're in a workshop with 11 people, to be able to be present to that, like this will never happen again. This moment with these people will never happen. And I think like that's what helps me get present. And that's part of my spiritual practice, is like really having a deep gratitude for the process of life, you know, and what occurs for things to happen, you know, like it's a really marvel. It's awesome, you know, in that word, when you think of when you're in awe, and that's what connects me to the deepest parts of me, you know, when I'm not checked out, like, you know.
Yeah, it's easy to check out. That's so well said, and it's truly a marvel. I just GPSed us on a globe in my mind. I'm like, holy shit, it's like Georgia, and then we go out, and then we go all the way over to Australia. It's just the connection literally in a very literal way transcends time, because one of us is in the future and one of us is in the past and one of us is in the present. Well, any way you want to look at it, right? Like it's crazy. It's fucking mind-boggling.
Yeah, man. Well, that's the mystery which we're so out of touch with on so many levels, you know. Like we talk about conspiracy, and I say this often, but what's the greatest conspiracy of all, other than the fact that what the fuck are we doing here right now, having this conversation in these human bodies with these abilities and these skills to think and to move our hands and to move our fingers and to connect over the internet? Like what the hell is going on right now, you know? But we don't really have the bandwidth to cater to that, because we're so trapped in the mundane and in the routine, in the drudgery of it all. But when you really get those opportunities to feel the immensity of what it means to be a living human being, you know, the greatest gift in the cosmos, and you're living it right now.
Very true, man. It's so well said. So you guys are amazing. I'm so glad we had this conversation. I literally spent 15 minutes right before we got on because I was running around all day, but I just did like a 15-minute gratitude meditation, and it was like it was remarkable, and I was just thinking of my kids and this podcast and everything that's happened, and it was just it just shot me from kind of scatterbrained and stressed out to a real elated feeling of like of joy and gratefulness to be able to jump on here with you guys, and the fact that you guys had me on your podcast when it was just beginning, and it was a great honor to be on your show, and to have you guys on has been an honor for me. So I'm so grateful for your time. I want to ask you both one last question before you go. We talk a lot about programming, and we know how susceptible the human mind is to programming. Bruce Lipton used this amazing analogy. He said, you could get a brand new computer. It could be the sleekest thing you've ever seen. You could take it out and power it up, and you go to use it, and it's shit because it's not programmed right. So what good is it if it doesn't have the right programming? It's no good at all. It's bugged out. And I'm like, man, he's so right. It doesn't matter how sleek your hardware is if your software is not right. So what I want to ask you guys is if you could write a bit of code for the human mind, the human heart, that would help us experience this life in a greater sense of ease and joy, what code would you write that we could slip into the consciousness of humanity?
I'm not very good with computers, man. So Joel, I'm pretty tech unsavvy.
Just to honor thyself, man. Just to love thyself, know thyself, and accept thyself on the deepest levels. At the end of the day, man, you're never going to escape yourself. You have to deal with you every single waking and sleeping minute, whether it's conscious or unconscious. So be benevolent to yourself. Be a friend to yourself first and foremost before anything else. Because at the end of the day, the quality of that friendship is going to determine the quality of every single decision you make in your life. And ultimately, that will be your destiny. So, yeah, be a friend to yourself.
Yeah, I think whatever the code is to make what Joel said, like a person's individual value system, I would do. I just think like having a desire and the will to do the deep work to evolve as a human being, but in a really grounded way. I'm kind of one of those dudes. I love getting into a lot of stuff, but what's practical and grounded is really important for me as well. I think that's why I'm really into like even body work and somatic work is, stay on the heroic path, face those challenges, do the deep work that's necessary, because people sit there and they pay lip service like, I want to find this my dream guy, or I want to find, the girl of my dreams, or I want to have my dream job, or whatever the case may be. But what the fuck are you doing about it?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, are you, like I said earlier, are you just re-experiencing the same patterns over and over and over again? So that code would be to be like, oh shit, I'm experiencing the same thing over again. I'm saying the same thing. I'm doing the same thing. Like, must do something different, So I think I would enhance people's consciousness to just adjust course more effectively.
Yeah.
The ultimate code is already here, and we take it for granted every single day. And that is the code of freedom. Okay. We're the only species in existence that has volitional consciousness, that has the choice to act for or against our own interest. And we take it for granted because we're scared of responsibility. And everything you see around you is only possible because of that inherent freedom, So what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't give it up.
Yeah.
No matter what. That's what I'm teaching my kids. I'm like, you listen, it's going to fall on you boys, because no one's going to remember, especially your generation. They're not even going to have a clue. You got to know how it was in order to keep what we got, at least, But you guys, listen, everybody, check out Rise Above the Herd. Check out their podcast, Here for the Truth. They've got some remarkable guests coming on. You guys recognize some of the names. It's a great podcast. I've been a fan for a while now, and getting more familiar with these guys for this conversation has given me a chance to really dive deep, and they've had some awesome conversations for you guys to check out. You guys, the website is Here for the Truth, right?
Yeah, man. Hereforthetruth.com. That's where they can access the podcast. They can just hit the group coaching tab and they'll end up at our Rise Above the Herd website. But if they want to go directly to Rise Above the Herd, it's riseabovetheherd.co. And they can submit an application and jump on a 20-minute call with us as soon as possible. We've actually just opened doors for our third run, launching September, and we're taking 20 people only. So if you're keen, we'd love to meet, connect, and see how we can work together.
Awesome. You guys, it's been real. I so appreciate your time. I know you guys are both busy. Can't thank you enough. It's been great.
Likewise, Faust, man, and thank you for the role you're playing, dude. Like, we honor it absolutely, man. You're walking your own heroic and authentic path, and you wake up every single day, and you're consistent and committed to nurturing your little corner of what it is to walk a path of truth and integrity as well, man. So right back at you, brother. Thanks, brother. I appreciate that so much. I love you guys. Take care in both parts of the world you're in, and I'll be seeing you around. I know that.
All right, bro.
All right, guys.
Man.
Take care.